Another dialogue line.
Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. So today marks 15 years since my very first video, if you can believe it. My very first video on YouTube was about investing in copper, if you can believe it. I would have never imagined 15 years later I would own 22 different metals on the periodic table. But at the time, in 2009, let's see how many metals I had. I had copper, silver, gold. I don't think I had platinum and palladium. Oh, I had palladium. Didn't have platinum just yet. I had nickel. I had aluminum. I had a few 1 yen coins. And that was it. I only had 6 metals at the time. Now I have 24. But 15 years now. I started my channel with coin collecting and investing in precious metals. I really liked copper at the time because at the time you could open a roll of pennies and find at least 12 copper coins. Nowadays you're lucky to find 3 or 4, right? I like zinc now too because I use zinc for my art projects. You can melt zinc pennies very easily at home, and so I now when I get a box of pennies, I hardly have anything to. I don't have anything to return. I keep both the copper and the zinc coins, and I sometimes find some oddities as well. I hope to eventually figure out how to melt the copper coins as well. But I want to talk a little bit about the history of my channel. In 2010, I ran into my first significant relationship drama/breakup. What had happened was I was dating a girl who was taking advantage of me financially, and I almost dropped out of school. I was working on my PhD. We broke up in the spring of 2010, and I was scared to death because that was my first breakup. I was scared to death. On June 13, 2010, we had a coin show in Rochester, New York. And when I saw the coin show coming up, it was bittersweet because I wanted to go to the show to kind of take my mind off breaking up with the girl, but it was all consuming at the time. I still cannot understand how I survived that time in my life. Somehow I made it to the coin show and I had a really good time. And it was at that moment in time that I realized that everything I did with the girl I could now do without, and I had a really good time. I graduated with my PhD the next year. I took a job in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where my family lives, at a technology company. I ran into some drama there, though. You got to understand, I had just 2 years earlier, I had just broken up with that girl, and I swore off dating. And at the time, it was very easy to swear off dating. Why? Compared to now. I'll let you think about why. I was living with my parents. I had stable housing situations. I wasn't depending on both my income and a partner's income to pay for housing. And also, half the time when I got home, my dinner was ready. It was very easy to forget about the concept of dating when you live in an environment like that. But unfortunately, at my first job, I ran into a lot of drama because I was the only person who was not only single, but not even thinking about dating. And it made it very easy for people to step on all over me. And it contributed to a lot of toxicity. Then I moved out of my parents' home to take a different job, a startup company actually in New York City. And so I ran into drama there too because I forgot that I had all these responsibilities that I had to handle by myself. I was 27 years old at this point, and I forgot that I had to cook every meal by myself. One day, I was at the office late. We had this interesting problem that my boss didn't think had a solution, but he said it would be nice if we did. And I got really excited, and I stayed late to figure it out. And when I figured it out, I came up with something that he and quite a few other colleagues had overlooked. And by the time I finished the problem, it was 9:30 at night, and there was nobody in the office. It was a ghost building pretty much. And I jumped up and down to celebrate. And I was all alone celebrating this result, and it was sad. Most of my colleagues have family members to go home to. The other ones who didn't were out there dating, right? I was content with my life at this point. I wasn't even thinking very much about dating. And then I got on the subway train. It was a number six. I still remember riding the number six every day. Got on my favorite number six train, and only then did it hit me. Oh my God, I don't have a meal to go home to. And I that's when I went on my phone to look for a restaurant nearby, and I discovered a sushi buffet restaurant called Echumi. And I used to frequent that restaurant a lot. Now they have this policy that if you don't tip them at least, I don't know, 18% or something like that, they chase you out of the door. I don't know why they would do that and not just add it to the bill. If they're going to chase you out the door every time you leave a bad tip, they might as well just leave it on the bill, right? I don't know why they didn't. But I got chased out of that restaurant a couple of times. One time I had gone there and I wanted to ask about allergies, and the waiter there didn't want to answer me. He exaggerated that he didn't understand what I was saying. He spoke with a heavy Japanese accent, and so I gave him like a 2% tip or something like that. I think the bill came out to $38 and something cents, and I rounded it up to 40. He chased me out the door, shouting, excuse me," in an even more exaggerated tone to pretend that he didn't speak very good English. I knew he did because he spoke perfectly with other people at the restaurant. I overheard him talking to other tables. I heard him talking to his boss. He didn't have a problem with that, only with me. He didn't want to answer my question about allergies. I don't know why not. Perhaps he didn't know, but he could have told me, I don't know, I'm sorry, right? He didn't have to tell me he didn't understand what I was saying. And he chased me out the door. And when I got onto the subway train, I jumped up and down, laughing out of control. And it just goes to show the kind of drama one runs into when they don't have a partner in life. And to this day, I still run into drama. I'm a little bit disappointed about another restaurant, though. So Five Guys used to open on Christmas Day, and it was a tradition every year on Christmas Day for me to eat at Five Guys because I was really proud of being atheist and being solosexual, autoromantic, right? Going on a date with myself on Christmas Day because I don't give a fuck about religion, right? I used to love doing that. Unfortunately, Five Guys doesn't open on Christmas Day anymore. I used to be the only one in there. And I'm so disappointed. Ever since the pandemic, you haven't been able to do that. In 2022, I started getting a ton of dislikes on my channel for no good reason. I was upset because at this point I had been YouTubing for 13 years. And all of a sudden, my channel goes to shit because somebody decides to leave dislikes. I'm a big fan of the Peter Schiff Show, and I used to call my show the Peter Shit Show, and adopted his theme. And when I started getting a lot of dislikes, it occurred to me that the dislikes wouldn't look so bad if I started asking for them. And that's when I became the Peter Dislike Show. And so I celebrate 15 years. Let's celebrate together by leaving a dislike. So whoever left a like, would you mind changing it to a... This is my symbol. Please change your like to a dislike. Right. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum.